to so many of you who helped to raise me. I look out at who is here, and I know that sometimes I wonder why I'm here, because I have learned so much from you, but I hope that maybe a new perspective will be shared today, maybe something fun and exciting. Hopefully we'll get something out of this together. I know that it was a very engaging process for me to come to this. I had recently been reading a book called Sacred Chaos, and which led me to the topic for today, messy spirituality. So what is, or why spirituality? Kathy went through a number of things of what is spirituality in a broad sense, and I don't envy the task that you had trying to cover spirituality in just 10 minutes, because it's something that takes a lifetime. So I'm going to go ahead and, in this messiness of today, open up the floor. What is, or why do we need spirituality? So I'm looking for audience participation. Why do we need spirituality? What do you think of when you think of the word spirituality?
How is it different from sanctification?
Good question. How is it different from sanctification? I'm not necessarily here to answer these questions. So, what do you think of when you think of spirituality?
Connecting to God.
Connecting to God.
He took the words out of my mouth.
Connecting to God. How about when you think of a spiritual person? You know, there are those people who just exude spirituality.
I think spirituality is showing your faith and trust in God.
Showing your faith and trust and belief in God, definitely.
People even have
Peace about them.
We are all spiritual human beings. The Holy Spirit is in all of us. Even if
The Holy Spirit is in all of us, even if it's just a tiny little thing. I love the book Lamb, and I'm in the process of rereading it again. I don't know if you all have heard of that book by Christopher Moore. It's a very humorous and irreverent book, but there are a lot of truths in it. And Jesus goes off on a quest to find the divine spark that lives in all of us. And to me, that's a fresh new way to look at experiencing the Holy Spirit that is indeed in all of us. Any other thoughts of what you think of when you think of spirituality or a spiritual person?
Prayer, meditation.
Prayer and meditation. Mm-hmm. Well, when I think of a spiritual person, sometimes I think of someone who is perfect, which I know that we humans cannot be, but I think of someone who is just so filled with the Holy Spirit, so imbued with it, that they just exude it in everything they do, and they never mess up, and they have this perfect connection with God. I think of it as something that is almost unattainable, even though I have met people in my own lives who have certainly attained it, or at least on outward perceptions. But spirituality is something that is very attainable. It is something that can be part of all of our lives, something that we can join together in. We have had a huge re-emergence of spirituality within our culture. Everywhere you turn, you can go down the tea aisle in the grocery store, and half of the teas are labeled with something spiritual on them. Everywhere you turn, if you Google spirituality, you come up with 11 million hits. 11 million hits. Every major religion has had a reawakening of spirituality within their religion. Of course, we've had it within our Christian religion, within Judaism, within the Buddhist tradition. It comes very naturally to them. Native American spirituality, secular spirituality. It is pervasive in our culture. Because I think that, especially as our lives get faster paced, as we move faster and faster, we get more disconnected from one another and from God. And so we seek this time of being connected with one another and being connected with God. And It's an innate human need, this need to be connected with God. Perhaps not everybody recognizes it, but it is a need that we all have. And so there has been this great just re-emergence of spirituality within our culture. But spirituality is more than just the secular world that we have. It is something that we do have within our Christian denominations. And I want you to know that spirituality is very Presbyterian. We often think of it maybe as something that's more Catholic, or it's come out of the Catholic tradition, but we will have lots of quotes from the Book of Order today. I hope you enjoy them as much as I have. There is some beautiful, beautiful language within our own Book of Order that leads us to spirituality. But one thing that we have learned over the years is that piety does not equal connection with God. That just being religious, and especially in this time of Lent, we sometimes try and out-discipline one another, that we have our spiritual disciplines, we have the things that we are giving up, but sometimes they don't lead us to God. Sometimes they actually take us away from God. And one movie I watch every year, especially at Lent, is the movie Chocolat. I don't know if you all have seen that movie. It's a really, really wonderful movie. I encourage you to go and watch it if you haven't. But there is this kind of battle between extreme piety and living out the joyful life that God has intended for us. And so I brought a clip from Chocolat, and it's kind of that tension between these two things.